Very nice. Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. Here we are on our third workshop. Hi, everybody. This is Livianu, and I have my very, very loyal and committed students, Lois, Masabi, and of course, Steven. Come closer to the table so you can feel comfortable. Thank you.
I'm comfortable.
So, I'm happy to see everybody. Since we have a much smaller group, very intimate group, we'll be able to work closely one-on-one with each one of you. When I have large groups, it's impossible because of the nature of the whole relationship. The more people you have, the less you can work one-on-one. So we're going to be able to also work one-on-one, which is very valuable for you as a student. So let's do the following thing. Let's sing the C major scale. This being our third workshop, I will email you lesson 3, which is the G major scale or the Sol major scale. So
It's better for me because I don't have it on my cell phone.
exactly, you can do anything with it. So we're gonna sing the C major scale. Let's open to page. Let's see what page can we open to. Let's just have the C major scale, unless you know it by heart. But if you don't, please open to page. Yeah, other people might come a little later. So it's your first lesson, lesson 1 in C major. Let's just open to page 10. Actually, let's open to page 8. All right? And instead of listening, you know what? Let's do the warm up exactly the way the lesson is. You got the, let's go back to page 5, which is exactly the beginning of the exercise. You all good? Excellent. So page 5, this is how you would practice, okay? First, we have to identify our reference point, which is A, right? Is everybody comfortable with when I say A or La?
Yeah.
You understand that means the musical note, right, Lois? Good. That's your reference point. Think of notes as you hear them. I'm gonna wait for Lois to finish writing. Perfect. A sound is an object. Just as you have here, this is an object. You see it. And it has a physical body, right? It has height, width, circumference, whatever the shape of the object is. Well, sounds are also objects. You don't see them, but you feel them with your ears. So a sound is an object. So every time we talk about a note, it's an object. The ear perceives it as an object. The object has 4 qualities, properties, and we will talk about this again and again. Just like when you look at a table, it has length, it has width, and it has height, 3-dimensional. Where sounds are also 3-dimensional. Sounds have 4 qualities, which you can kind of compare to a physical object that you see. So the physical object that you hear, the A, it has a pitch, it has a frequency that makes it that sound instead of this sound. This frequency is 440 beats a second. You take any object in the world, a physical object, and you move it 440 times a second very fast, like a string or a body of air in an instrument. This is the sound you will hear. It might not be a piano because the shape of the piano gives the sound, the color that it sounds like a piano. That's property 2, the source. The sound comes from somewhere, from your voice, from the piano, from Stephen, from a trumpet. And that color, that special sound that it sounds like Stephen or Masami or Lois is what we call timbre, Timbre. It's a French word which means the color of the sound that makes it sound like a piano, right? So the sound has 4 properties. Otherwise, just like the table cannot exist in real space if it doesn't have height, width, depth, right? You can draw it on a piece of paper in 2-dimensional, you know, but in the real world, physical objects that you see with your eyes have 3: height, length, and depth. In music, the equivalent would be the 4 properties of the sound. The sound has to have a pitch, 440 hertz. Every sound is represented by a number. How many times a second it vibrates, all right? You cannot have a sound without vibration. That would be called silence, okay? Just like an empty room without objects. That's silence in music. So the absence of vibration is silence. That's another. So the 4 properties of sound are the pitch, right? The color of the sound, that means the source. It comes from the piano, from the clarinet, from a guitar, from your voice. If it doesn't have a source, it cannot exist. Someone has to create the vibration, right? The third property is how loud is the sound. That's kind of the equivalent of how tall the building is, okay? So, loudness. In music, we use a lot of Italian words. Very soft would be piano. Very loud would be forte. These are Italian words, which means very loud, soft, and all. So, loudness of the sound is property number 3 of every sound. And the last one is how long does it last? How tall is this building? Okay, a sound can last as long as you blow air in the instrument, as long as the sound vibrates. It could be a millisecond, or it could be a long sound. So the length of the sound, how long does it last, duration, is the 4th property of the sound. These cannot be changed. Doesn't matter if you play Chinese music, rock and roll, Beethoven, or you just sing some melody. These properties exist with any sound. They're universal, everywhere, anytime. Any questions about this?
Not yet.
Oh, good. I'm glad that Lois is not yet. Very good. So now, what we want to do is recognize and remember this object called sound, A. If you have the reference point, you make a left, David, at McDonald's 2 blocks over, and my house is right next to it, you're gonna find me, right? Because you go drive on Drummond, and you say, the Clarion Hotel over there, I'm right across the street from the Clarion, next to Walmart, right? Maybe, no, Walmart, Walgreens.
Oh, yeah,
Walgreens is across from Clarion on Drummond.
yes.
So if Lois is gonna say, David, I'll meet you at Walgreens, I don't know where, well, we had dinner, remember, at Clarion? Oh yeah, I know Clarion, across the street. This is the equivalent of remembering A. And we're gonna sing it. So the mind remembers, like taking a picture of the Clarion. The more times you walk to Clarion, the easier it's gonna be to say, oh yeah, Clarion is right next to me, I know where Clarion. But we have to do it with our voices. So first thing is we listen to it. Okay, it's a sound, it's a sound. Then we try to remember it. Then we try to sing it with your own voice. Whether it's a high voice, a low voice, or so. And we say la or A if you use A, B, C. So let's try to do that. A. Try to find it as much as you can. Try to match it like in unison. A. Right. You found the Clarion Hotel. You're very close, but you're like next to it. There's another building. So when you went, you arrived in front of the Clarion, and the GPS says you arrived. That's what your mind has to do now. Every time you hear this, you have to say, ah, that's A. The more times you do this on the piano, ideally on the piano, you can do it on a different instrument if you're more comfortable. The more times you do it, you're going to be able to picture it in your head. The way you picture an object on the clarion, it's how I see it. It's across from the Walgreens, right? The more times you do that, you'll be able to hear it inside. Just like if you close your eyes, say, where's the clarion? Oh, I know a clarion is here. And I go across the street, I'm at Walgreens, right? Does everybody understand this idea? The same way, if I sing, can you sing for me A, the equivalent of seeing the object, which is the clarion? Can you imagine where the clarion is, Lois?
Yeah.
You're gonna say, yes, I know, it's right over here, I know where. In music, if I say, can you imagine A, I would need you to sing it. Let's see if we can sing it. Ready, Steve? Try to sing A now, doesn't matter, there's no problem. Do it again. He has it in his head. He has a picture of the clarion in the
It
version.
hasn't been that long since you.
Well, you know, he's a professional musician. He didn't just start today. But the idea is the same. So try to find A. If I say, give me an A, even if it doesn't sound like A. You're very close. You're like 2 buildings next to it. You did this. You can do it again. La, la. So you did this. La. The clarion, hotel, the la is la. So you're very close. And you only did it once or twice now with me. So do it again. You have the clarion, the la in your hand. All right, you try to give me the la. Show me where the clarion note is. Doesn't matter. Just try. Again.
La.
La. See, I matched you. La, la. We'll do it again.
La.
La. Let's hear where A is. La. But don't change it now. Do it again. Don't change it. You're shifting. Again.
I'm trying to match it again.
No. I don't want you to match it. We're matching you. Go. Do it again. Stop. Now let's see what the clarion is. Our A, right? That's the one that you heard, right? Let's see how far you are. So you were like 3 doors down from the clarion. Does this analogy help you a little bit understand what's going on here? Huh?
Yeah.
So the idea is the same way you see things and you went a little too far, the GPS says, oh, you got to go another 100 feet and you'll be at the clarion. The same way you have a GPS that says, this is your GPS. The more we practice this note, this will be a reference for all the other notes when you want to find any other note, which are the other 11 notes on the piano. So now you know what the clarion. So that's why I say that the A will become your reference point like a GPS. If you know A, you can find C, which is here, right? You found C because you practice the A. You know where a clarion is. And from clarion, if I say, yeah, I just know the clarion, right? Lois is in town only a week. And she says, I'm staying at the clarion. I don't know the neighborhood. So I know the clarion, right? I want to go to, I heard there's a very good Marshall store, right? And what are you going to say to Lois? How does she get from Clarion Hotel to Marshall's? Explain to her, how do you get there?
No, just a hotel name.
It's right here, the Clarion Hotel on the corner.
Oh, that's the name of
Used
the
to be
hotel?
Heritage.
Oh, they changed the name of the
No,
hotel.
no, it used to be Carriage Inn.
Yeah, Carriage Inn, so I thought,
Carriage
what
Inn.
is this hotel?
Yeah,
Carriage-
most of us
Oh,
know
the-
it as Carriage Inn.
Oh,
because
Carriage Inn, and the big company bought it, now it's called, okay, so the Carriage Inn. So
Yeah.
if I tell you, could you explain to
How to get
Lois
there?
from the
From
Carriage Inn?
Inn,
Wait, what?
What?
She wants to go to Marshall's.
right, from Carriage Inn, go east.
No.
Oh.
Do it in simple words. Come outside of the building, go across the street, and it's right there.
Okay, so go across the street on, that's Drummond, and turn right into that little driveway of the shopping center.
It's a plaza, right?
Plaza, keep going until you see.
You see the sign.
Marshall's sign.
That's it, thank you. So the idea is very simple. I would say music, I want to go from the Clarion, Carriage Inn, I want to go to Marshall's, right? And I would say, well, you can cross diagonally, but if you look diagonally from the street, you're gonna see it. But you're gonna have to take the pedestrian crossing and you make an L, and you're right there, you already see it, right? In music, it's the same thing. So if I want to go from A or La to C, I would say, do this. A, B, C. Did you understand that? So our equivalent of the Marshall and the Clarion, now Carriage, whatever, is traveling with our ears and remembering how to, first of all, you have to know where the Clarion is, or a McDonald's for that matter, a reference point. And then you have to say, I want to travel from McDonald's, we'll use this, or the Carriage Inn, to the next destination. How do I get there? The GPS says make a right, make a left, make a this, right? Your mind, and that's what we're going to read here, how do we travel from A to our key, the scale of C major?
Right. I
And
have
we,
a question for you.
Yes.
You probably went through this the last couple of times, but I know with Suzuki violin, A is, they tune it. A, and
Oh,
they always
nice.
tune it. They
you were a
always do
big
that.
fan. That was very, did you hear how she just said, hey?
They always do that. My son went through Suzuki
Yes.
violin, so they always tune it.
And-
But I never heard it was a piano. So
The
why
point
do you?
is, why? Because professional musicians around the world, this is a standard, this is an agreement that we're always gonna use in orchestras everywhere. We're gonna use A to tune. So all the instruments use the oboe, which has a very good pitch. It doesn't shift. And then the first violin in the Philharmonic, he does this for his orchestra, and everybody tunes to A. So I say, why don't we teach everybody
That's
to
true.
use the same thing that we already, why should I say, let's learn E and tune to E. Let's use A, which is a universal method, and then when you see people in the orchestra, oh yeah, I do the same thing when they're doing it for the same purpose. So they're tuning in A, and if it's, let's say, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, which is C minor, then they're gonna go from A, after they tune, they make sure that they're all on the same location where the Clarion Hotel is, and they have to go 45 steps across the street to the Marshalls. So they need to travel from A to C major or minor. And then they start playing. But they have to be in C minor, they have to make sure that everybody's tuned.
So it's just tradition.
Pardon me?
It's
a tradition, right? It's an agreement. For hundreds of years, they use this A. Somebody said, let's use A. Could have said G, could have said F. It's just an agreement. It's like the way you say in English, we use the word hello. In Japan, they use
Konnichiwa.
konnichiwa. But you can make up, there's people that make up their own languages, whatever they call that. You can say ha hu ha. That means hello. In Swahili, maybe. So if we agree that hu ha hu means hello, as little kids, we can say hu ha hu. And people say, wow, you guys speak, oh, we made our own language. But it's that simple. Okay? So it's not like somebody said you have to use this. It was an agreement at a practice with musicians that the A, we're going to use A because the oboe plays it very clean, it's in the middle and all that, then the violin and all that. So everybody uses A as the reference point. That's why I included it as the beginning of our exercise.
Okay, so that's why
Hello, Steve. You need some coffee, go get, oh, we have coffee in the main office if anybody needs coffee.
I'll get it.
That's why when
Super
Jane
ready.
Kuhlman,
Pardon me?
that's when Jane Kuhlman, you know her.
Yes,
She's the first violinist.
Yes.
Anyway, she's tuning everybody,
Yes.
not just violin.
Well,
On
she
the
takes
A.
A. She
Is
takes
that
A
what
from
she's
the
doing?
oboe. She takes A
Okay.
from the oboe.
yes,
music caliber.
but it's every orchestra in the world, doesn't matter, professional, amateur, children, adults, any country in the world, that's how they do it. And everybody goes like, even singers, when they tune, la, and if the song they sing is in C major, they go la, la, la. We arrived in C major. So now, let's go back to our exercise now. Read what we're doing, so now you have a little more theoretical understanding of what's going on, which is going to give you a lot of strength. Say, oh, I'm doing what everybody else is doing. I'm like all the professional musicians around the world. So you are using the same method that every professional musician today and yesterday from 200 years ago, everywhere, Beethoven, everybody in an orchestra used to tune their instruments and their ears. This is your most important note. That's why you listen and then you sing it. Try to imagine. La. And call it by its name. A or La. Every day when you go to the piano, you say, and then you're going to say, let me see if I can do it before. Let's see if my ear remembered it. Try to sing A now. Voila. That's how simple it is. And when we go through this whole thing, in a couple of weeks, you're going to say, oh, I know da 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 da. And you have it in your ears, and you start functioning like a professional musician. That's the language of music. So step one, remember the sound and sing it. Without singing it, you will not, you'll remember a little bit, but by saying it, it's like poetry. If you read something with your voice, you're going to say, oh yeah, Baba Black Sheep and all that, you remember. That's how you do it with children. That's how simple it is. So let's go back to reading it, and then we go together. Ready? And then we sing. La, si, we found Marshalls. And now we want to make sure that we're in Marshalls. Remember the traveling from the carriage in Clarion to the Marshall. Now you're in Marshalls. And now you're going to warm up your ear with the notes, the 7 notes in the C major scale. And we're going to sing together. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, mi, re. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, mi, re. Do, mi, sol, do, la, si, do, mi, sol, do. You're inside the store, as we say. You're inside the store in Marshalls. This book is your trip at Marshalls. And we're going to use this example for us to understand that this 31 more, there's 29 more different locations. Remember what I told you last time about the solar system? Do you remember that? That the 7 notes are like a solar system, the most important note being the first one, Do or Si, that's the sun, and the other notes all revolve around the most important note, which is Do, Si, called the tonic, because it's just like gin and tonic. I think the tonic gives you strength. The tonic is considered the most powerful note around which all the other notes run around in C major. And if I start from G, from Sol, Sol is the center of that solar system, and all the 7 notes run around, the other 6 notes run around Sol. So depending what the first note is, that is called the tonic. So now we're working in C major, Do major, that's the tonic. The other 6 notes all revolve around C major. But, pardon me?
Maybe it's the reference.
Pardon me?
The reference is the tonic.
Yeah, the tonic means the first note. In musical language, when we use the word tonic, and I think I wrote it down here. You see, if you go down on the second step where it says 5, do you see that little 5 here? Right here. You see what it says here? Find the
Tonic.
which means the first step. Now you're looking for Marshalls, and you found it. La, si, do, and the tonic has the number 1 because it's the most important note. You notice that I put numbers in front of each note, right, Lois? You see what I did? After you found do,
Oh, here, yeah.
yeah, that's your tonic, and
Yeah.
all the other notes are subservient to the tonic. Those are the 6 planets. As I gave an example a couple of weeks ago. Those notes are all listen to the boss,
Right.
the tonic. But that's another conversation. But you're starting to understand that you need to have an anchor. Your first objective is to try to remember and recall the Clarion Inn Hotel. Then you want to travel across the street to Marshall's, which is your equivalent of C major, Do major. You found it. You took so many steps, 45 steps, right? And you're there. And then you go inside the store and you see the other things there, which are the 7 notes of C major scale, with the first note being the tonic. And you sing the song in C major for your ear to get comfortable in the C major, because each one of these locations, C major, G major, has a different color. The relationship between the notes does not change. Those 7 notes, it's always a tonic with the 6 notes. But when you play something in C major, I can play the same thing from a different note, but it's not going to sound the same. Try to listen to the sound. You're in C major. Now we're going to play it, let's say, in E major. It sounds a little different. It's still a major chord, right? And I'm going to play the Star Spangled Banner in E major. And in C major, it was a little darker.
I like that better.
In E major, it sounds like there's more light. It's like more, I don't know, it feels a little more obtuse. If I played in a different key, let's say I would play in A major.
A lot of it is from what you've just heard, because you got the Sidney Brain, so then you switch keys, and that's what you're noticing.
Yeah, but I don't know, but that's experience once you understand that each note, each object reflects the sound or the color in a different way. It has a different hue. We call that a hue in music. So Do major. So we're going to go into the very fine things that make music. So this is the equivalent of studying visual arts. In visual arts, a professional painter can distinguish probably 50 shades of white, 50 shades of every basic color. Same thing with musicians. They can distinguish the different hues based on the key, on the notes that you play. For a non-musician that never knew about this, they feel, oh yeah, it sounds nice, whatever. But once you understand this, you become an expert, just like a person that works in the textile business, a designer, and they went to school. They can see that this shade is a little bit different. But same thing with a musician when he plays this. Each one has its own thing. But let's get back to this. So what we did now, we found Marshalls. Right? We're in C major. So this whole book is going to be C major. We're at Marshalls. Okay? And everything is going to be practiced with the 7 notes of the C major scale. The different combinations. Okay? So the comparisons I use as a way to introduce you and to use your understanding and practice and experience of what it means to travel from point A to point B. That's what it is. So, any questions about this? Now we open up to page 8, which is a warm-up, and we're gonna sing together. I recommend one time you listen, one time you sing. We'll sing at both times. Are you comfortable with do, re, mi? Especially that I wrote it down. So let's try to sing it now. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. One more time. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. And going down. One more time. Can only sing one note at a time. So when you sing 2 or 3 or 4 notes, you cannot sing them unless you sing them one after the other, which we did, called arpeggio, which means in Italian, one after the other when you're doing an arpeggio. That is arpeggiato, one after the other. That's arpeggio. That's what the harp does, you know, when they play. That's called arpeggio. You just rolling up or down the notes, right? Very good, so we listen to this. So that was part 2, that's why it's called a warm-up. You're still in Marshall's. We're not leaving Marshall's until you finish this book. That's, you can call the Marshall book. And all the exercises, we have different departments. There's 7 departments. The first department is the one that you find A, you find here, then you locate. That's not a department, that's kind of the equivalent of let's find Marshalls, right? The first one. Then part 2 is warm-up. You want to know what's in the store. Well, what's in this store are these 7 notes, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. So we just sing them. Do, the part, children's, ladies, men, and all that, shoes and all that. So then we move on to part 3, which is combining the 7 notes. We're not going to use the Marshall comparison because it's not necessary, I think. And then we open up to page 12, and we sing together. Do, re, do, mi, do, fa, do, sol, do, la, do, si, do, do, si, do, la, do, sol, do, fa, do, si, do, re. So now what you're doing is you're taking the notes, and look, we can start again from the top, and instead of do, re, mi, use the numbers. It's going to give you a sense why do is the most important note. You're going to feel how all the notes are attracted to do. So let's sing from the top with numbers. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 1. Let's jump to bar 9. 1, 1, 1, 7, 1, 6, 1, 5, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1. You feel how everything